Hello and welcome back to another Black Ops 7 storyline video. This is the 115 Network, and today I have the full story of the Black Ops 7 Zombies map, Astra Malorum. On screen will be the tables of content for this video. Without further delay, let's get started. This story first will take us inside the Dark Aether. The Warden up to this point has begun to enslave the Shadowsmith. It's likely all the ones we will see in Black Ops 7 are under the will of the Warden at this point. Caltheris would assume the form of a skull-shaped asteroid within the rings or asteroid belt of Saturn shortly after enslavement at the commands of the Warden. In the early 1800s, in the main universe and Dempsey's, the flock of Shem would be summoned to the Dark Aether and ultimately consumed by the Warden. At the start of the 20th century, an astronomer by the name of Dr. Silas Thurston would study Josiah Shem and his pursuit of eternal life. Within Dempsey's universe's Liberty Falls, he would collect artifacts and other assortments and be the founder of the Thurston Observatory. Having access to very powerful technology, they are able to recover relics on the surface of Mars dating back 500,000 years. The unknown metal depicted a star map relative to the crater's location within the solar system. Similar Martian star maps depicted on human skulls would be located and estimated to be 70,000 years old, found in the Rift Valley in eastern Africa, and similar ones depicting on human skin found in Morosco, Poland in 1700. The civilizations would span Venus, Mars, and Titan, and would consist of temple-like structures within otherworldly designs. They too would be calculated constructions with precise placement among the stars, and be planted on similar grounds Shem would choose later for the grounds of Liberty Falls. Dr. Thurston would note that their grounds was nothing compared to what they collectively worship. The appearance of the extraterrestrials would be human-like with futuristic and otherworldly clothing designs. Their technology would far exceed humanity, being able to create gravity-altering machines, sonar-inducing pylons, and flying sentient artifacts like the Ascendant Eye. Along with these technological feats, they also created planetary protection devices using energized towers using souls to power. It's unknown if the one used in Astra Malorum was meant to ensnare the Shadowsmith or what its intended purpose was truly for. Thurston would note that these civilizations would later struggle with wars and eventually go extinct far before life began on Earth. Human technology would be present on the temple sites in Mars. These likely appeared after its arrival in the Dark Aether, as there are various items throughout different times, such as a lava lamp, a lawn flamingo, a toilet, and parts of a futuristic spacesuit. The stasis capsules holding these artifacts would be lined with Cree Hollow style language, the language of the Keepers, possibly a different dialect by design. This particular city may have been brought to the Dark Aether a long while before the observatory. Once there, former humans would inhabit the site wearing red robe-style clothing bearing circular symbols, and on the chest cloth would bear the Black Sun or the Order of the Keeper's insignia. They would also have teeth much like the Templar zombies found in the dig site in Dimension 63. Their bodies and eyes will glow blue as well. Even after the collapse of the multiverse, there is evidence that the Keepers are still alive and present within the Dark Aether. It's unknown if these Keepers associated humanoids were the ones that created the civilization within Dempsey's universe. But with the statues being one human-looking face, the Order insignia being worn, and the return of the Origins mystery box and the hand holding the house of Dr. Monty, we could potentially see the return of the new Keeper race and Dr. Monty. Ultimately, it's unclear if they possibly worship the Keepers or perhaps a Shadowsmith. Thurston noted he was unable to discern if he was being guided by the same that guided these civilizations. Between 1314 and 1533, a fragment of an ancient scroll from Guy de Saint Michel would be brought to the observatory. The scroll would be ripped and only legible words detailed something was maintaining equilibrium by the Guardian's celestial hand. It's unclear, but this could be referencing the obscurus altilium and the Guardian found in Citadel des Morts. The Guardians, referenced by Thurston beneath a demon cloud, or my personal thoughts with the potential Dr. Monty clutching his house as he could be holding everything together and a celestial hand is seen. Moving back to the present times in the 1900s with Josiah Shem's ritual dagger, which would be collected and dated back to 1800. The dagger was said to have been used for blood sacrifices to the Great Voice from beyond, and later paved the way to their ascension. In 1910, an energized mineral, most likely element 115, would be collected from the holy grounds where Shem would build his mansion. A rocket display is also present within the museum section, and a picture painted by Thurston himself when he was 7 years old. He would comment that that it may be a premonition to what's to eventually come. It's likely by the 1920s in this universe, technology advanced to interplanetary travel along with the ability of teleportation, much stronger than that of the old Broken Arrow. Following further into the 1920s, Thurston would begin to hear the voice of the Warden, the same that guided Shem. Thurston would amass a great following, picking up where Shem left off. Perfecting the rituals, Thurston and his cult would perform one last one inside the observatory. The ritual would pull the entire observatory and followers atop the Shadowsmith Caltheris' head in orbit of Saturn. Arriving scared and frightened, Thurston would state that this was intentional and by design of the Deathless One. In the place of the Elder God they were expecting, the Warden would arrive instead with 2 totem skulls in hand. Thurston would be shocked only seeing a man and no god in front of him. The Warden would reply he was much, much more, and siphon the souls of Thurston's flock and leave to his other duties in the Dark Aether, seemingly leaving Thurston himself unharmed. The flock would be left stranded, unable to leave, and trapped in the observatory. Thurston and his flock would survive for some time and would begin writing messages on the walls around the observatory. After 181 days, Thurston would write his 67th entry. He would note that in all of his dreaming and dark wonders of the Dark Aether, none would truly capture his imagining, such as the dwellings beneath the glowing demon cloud. He would also note that time felt distended or stretched or warped, and would believe this place wasn't from the physical world, but also wasn't created from nothingness, from the void. Thurston would only be able to capture quick, unclear glimpses, as if seeing it out of the corner of his eyes. The guardians that resided in such a place would mock and taunt Thurston when he drew a glimpse into the unclear visions. Thurston and the rest would survive for much longer, studying the stars, and evident by the main portal room would attempt rituals to try and escape the observatory and the Dark Aether. By day 329, Thurston would write his final entry log number 207. In this, he would write that he could not experience the Dark Aether as it is, with the mind constrained to their universe's linear state of time. But the Dark Aether was past, present, and future, all occurring constantly in a mixture. Thurston would describe an event so astronomically vast that would usher in destruction, followed by an event described as a Cambrian explosion, similar to what happened on Earth 538.3 million years ago, or an eruption of complex life in a very short amount of time. The Dark Aether would experience a similar event where all of reality, corrupted by the ether and its physical state, or Agartha, would arrive inside the Dark Aether instantaneously, life, matter, energies, all in one. Thurston would begin to wonder what could have caused such a gigantic wave in the woven fabric of reality. Known to most, this event was the banishment of the multiverse, ushered in by Primus Nikolai using the Agarthan device and summoning key to banish Element 115 and Agartha. In doing so, the multiverse, due to both being interwoven into all other realities, into the Dark Aether. Thurston would ultimately never get the answers to this massive question. Some point later, the Warden would secure the soul, life essence, and memories of Dean Roth. Using Vaetherian, the Warden is able to lay the memories of Dean Roth in front of him. The Warden would take a liking to one of his 2-bit picture shows, Red Horizon, and with the power of the Shadowsmith, would bring Oscar to life. Awaking for the first time, Oscar would ask the great voice from beyond his purpose, to which the Warden instructs him to guard his precious pet that lay underneath the asteroid surface. The Warden would leave and Oscar would begin his Shadowsmith watch patrols. Oscar would soon come in contact with Thurston and his followers. Oscar would begin attacking Thurston. He would instruct one of the followers to stay put atop an elevating platform in the observatory dome. Thurston would draw Oscar away and would eventually be killed or forcibly placed inside a cryopod. Around this time, one or more of his colleagues would remove components to the orrery, disabling the portal to the Martian surface. Oscar would grow to regret this decision, as after some time the followers of Thurston would begin to worship him, interfering with questions and offering him oil as tribute. Oscar understood that the unwarranted attention would have fallen to Thurston. Oscar would grow to appreciate the oil as it served very well as a lubricant for servos and joints. Despite this appreciation, Oscar calculated that by killing 30% of the flock, he would discourage any further attachment by the humans. He would remain in Shadowsmith Watch indefinitely. Back in the pyramid housing the Shadowsmith Vaetherian, the Dark Aether crews and Ex-Requiem are successful in breaking his bond with the Warden. In doing so, the souls and memories of Maya and Dempsey are restored. Following this, the entity would move the crews to their next destination along with Tessie, now equipped with rocket boosters. Arriving in orbit of Saturn, they fly through fields of asteroids battling Ravengers on flying Element 115 meteors. Eventually, the crew destroy a large colony of Ravengers by jettisoning the boosters and are pulled into and on a large skull-shaped asteroid. Crash landing on the surface, Tessie is ultimately totaled. The crews dismount and travel through the remains of the observatory and are able to restore power, fixing the pipe organ and summoning the original Pack-a-Punch machine. The crew close off a series of gas leaks and restore the flow of power to the observatory dome telescope. Nikolai would soon wander off and find a figure of a goat and would soon have episodes of PTSD and recall the events that led him into the Dark Aether. Starting in his early life, he was born in Kolmogorye, a village in northwestern Russia. As a kid, he admitted to siphoning gas as a child and, unlike his Aether counterparts, was never married. He would soon later lose his family members at a wedding from unknown causes of death. He would soon later come of age and be forced into the Soviet military due to a lack of mechanics. He would show very little love for the Soviet Communist Party, but despite this would eventually end up as a tank commander and later be deployed in the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1984. At some point during the war, he would attempt to shelter Afghan civilians into a local cave, hoping to spare them Soviet cruelty. Unknowns to Nikolai, an evil entity by the name of Tuer Bala would inhabit the cave and would use Nikolai's voice to lure prey deeper into the cave. This entity would remove the eyes and feed on the organs of the unsuspecting civilians. Nikolai would later find the corpses and be approached by the entity. He would attempt to shoot Tuer Bala, but to no avail. Tuer Bala would forcibly bond with Nikolai, forcing him to carry out his will. It's after this point the Warden was able to locate and summon him into the Dark Aether. Snapping out of his vision and episode, he states that there's nothing he could do to atone for what he did, but he would still try and smashes the toy and focuses on freeing the next Shadowsmith. Both crews regroup and using different weapons around the facility are able to damage Oscar and acquire a weapon of his design, the LGM-1. The crew would then sneak around and wait for Oscar to relay an elimination record. In it, they acquire the lift code and are able to acquire the cryo chamber key. Moving to the orrery entrance, they are able to gain access and remove the brain of Dr. Thurston's corpse. Moving to the planetarium, they are able to place his brain inside a perfusion chamber and successfully revive Thurston's brain. They would then carry his brain to the orrery and integrate the chamber to the perfusion machine. He instructs the crew to input the coordinates to Mars. After doing so, he would explain that some of his colleagues had removed a vital component to the orrery and rendered the teleporter useless. The crew would use the bus in the library section and are able to acquire the missing planet globe for the orrery. After reinstalling and reorienting the planets, they are able to power on the teleporter. Oscar would attempt to stop the crew, but is unsuccessful in stopping them. After the teleporter powers on, they are all pulled through and arrive on the Martian surface along with Dr. Thurston. The crews pick up the chamber and are able to install him to the alien device. He explains the artifact is missing and must be charmed and caught to get the Aegis terminal back online. Shooting the tops of the pylons outside of the temple, they are able to lure and capture the Ascendant Eye and place it on its proper pedestal. Returning to the pipe organ, they memorize the coded message and using the LGM-1 are able to activate the pillars and interact with them in the correct order. With the crews now ready along with the Martian weapon, they activate the device and all pillars activate and are able to pull the skull-shaped asteroid above the temple, which reveals itself as Caltheris. Beginning the battle, Caltheris begins to shoot the observatory laser at the crews. Using the tower laser, the crew are able to charge them with the souls of the undead and unleash 2 to 3 strikes, destroying the observatory and skull, revealing Caltheris in a new form. The crews would continue fighting in the low-gravity battlefield and are able to break through Caltheris' defenses, revealing yet another form. Vaetherian would extend his help in the form of a power-up to aid the crews in the last form and the bond of Caltheris. The crew are able to overwhelm her and soon are able to completely sever the bond with the Warden. She reveals her true form to the crews. Moving quickly, Nikolai grabs her by the throat, demanding she give his life back. Gray would soothe Nikolai, urging him to release her, and Caltheris would calm and restore the life essence of Nikolai and Gray. Soon later, the entity would arrive, warning the crew the Warden knows where and what they are doing, before being captured by the Warden. A blood-red demon cloud would appear along with the voice of the Warden stating it was them that was freeing his pets and that they were due for a timeout. Calling to grab them, the Warden would summon a large group of Ravengers, grabbing each member and pulling them into the Martian soil. Gray would call out for Caltheris to escape while the crews would struggle and ultimately be overpowered. Caltheris would escape and most likely regroup with the other Shadowsmith Vaetherion and plan how to help the crews escape their imprisonment, as they are their greatest chance to liberate the other Shadowsmiths and to defeat the Warden. It's likely we will see Takeo's soul restored in the next map and learn more of the entity bonded within his sword, the Path of Sorrows. This will conclude my in-depth story of Astra Malorum. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Going forward, I will try to get these story-driven content out and collect as much information as possible to fully relay the complete story of each map. With Black Ops 7, there are a few hurdles in information gathering, not always making sense in the case of Mars in particular. As always, if you'd like to stay up to date on the latest release content, hit the bell for enabled notifications and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. All the support is greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching.